Okay, could we ask the panel to come up, please? So that is Geoff, Tristan, Sarah and Chris. Can you all come up and sit on the milking stools? Okay, and we'll start with Geoff now. The panel is to talk about the transformation of Australian agribusiness, and given the briefing we've just had around, Australia being the France of the South Pacific, there's an enormous opportunity out there that we need to get a hold of. How are businesses transforming, and how are they looking to these futures? And Geoff's Group Manager and Director of Growth Farms. It's a very interesting business. So for 10 minutes, Geoff, and really 10 minutes.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, do your best.
Yeah.
Please welcome Geoff Daniel.
Yeah, thank you. I think when you look at me and you think I'm a bit overdressed, it's not that I plan to be overdressed, it's just that I've been in the UK for the last month, got back the day before yesterday, and I haven't got any clean clothes. So, but anyway, so look, I'm going to go pretty quickly here, and I'm going to cover a few sacred cows, and but I'd like to start on a positive note before I start throwing a bit of mud around. I've been farming for 30-something years, and it's been a very interesting and very remunerative career for me. And so, despite the negative things I'm about to say, I think we just need to keep that in context. I've been able to grow a family business worth, 5/8 of bugger all to, I don't know what it's worth now, 40 or 50 mil, and I've got another 500 or so under management of other people's money. So it's been an interesting time. Very interesting time, where returns have certainly outstripped most alternatives, other than, of course, than snaffling DOS for nothing and keeping the IP on that, which Bill Gates did very nicely. So I think I'm talking to young farmers and prospective farmers. I don't know how many people here work inside the farm gate. Good, righto. The other people, I don't know whether I'm talking to, but the other people, I hope there's one or two here are the decision makers, and I don't mean the middle ones, I mean the big ones, and the people in the middle, well, unless they're going somewhere, I don't really care much about them. So what'll the future be like? And I actually, I don't think the drivers of production and profitability on farms are going to change much. In fact, I don't think they're going to change at all. I think there's a whole lot of technology and new things and blockchains and drones and all the rest, but they're almost peripheral. And I think the other thing about the future is the thing that everyone's worried about, and I keep getting asked, oh yeah, who's going to own the farms in the future? Well, it's pretty bloody obvious, the people that are going to own the farms in the future who get it right today. And so that's you people, I hope. If you don't get it right, of course, you'll wither on the vine and you'll be no loss. Yeah. Predicting the future, damn foolish exercise anyway, but I really can't see how things are going to change that much, in that basically most of what we produce as farmers will still be a commodity at the transaction point that we deal with. And that it's almost impossible for me to see it being any other way. If you're producing stuff at the sort of scale that we need to be. And so the implications of that is that we have very little pricing power. We have very limited, but useful, opportunity to add value, and that we generally have a falling real price. Now, I've just got a few of our commodities here where I've just put up wool, lamb and wheat, and it's only since, when is it, 2000 and odd, 20 years or so, 15 years. And you can see there that there is a slight increase over the period in real price for wheat. Although some of those colours are a bit mixed around, but basically I wouldn't get too cocky about the thought of rising real prices. Just assume they're going to keep falling and build your business around that. If I'm wrong, well, I'm going to be bloody rich. The strategies to adopt, we're talking we need to be producing to specification. It's obvious. The cost of production will continue to be the crucial thing. It's really boring, but it's just hard slog. And marketing is definitely not the answer. Commodity prices have dropped for the last 5,000 years relentlessly. I am still not convinced that that's going to change. Our potential for productivity growth is immense. And as I said, it's a good bet to bet that one, because if I'm wrong, I'm going to be not a billionaire, but I'll certainly have a few more millions around me. Production efficiency and cost of production are just crucial. Now, if we look at it, just for an example, we look at an industry that's got it wrong, and that's the wool industry. Here we've seen an industry that's focused on marketing and doesn't understand that productivity gain is crucial. I've taken the base 2006 years up to 2000, I think. Is it 2000? Yep. And I've put each next year as a percentage of that base. And we can see what's happened to merino sheep numbers on the way down, crossbreds on the way up. Merino sheep numbers have gone from 80%, have dropped by 80 minus, they've gone back 20, 30, 40%. Our merino wool production has dropped by 50, 60%. This is an industry in decline, probably terminal, and it's a very good example of what can happen to an industry if you forget what the drivers are. Marketing is not the answer. It's an easy option to call for the marketers to fix the problem, but that sort of thing, I believe, can only be taken seriously by the ignorant and the self-interested. We've got plenty of them in the wool industry. It's a very sad story. I grew up in the wool industry. I've been in it for generations. But I've still got a few merino sheep around me. I don't know how many I've got, maybe 50,000 or something. But they're only a crossbred ram away. Righto. So, how do you get the skills, and what do you do to be a competent farmer? Right, and competence in my world is defined by the marketplace and your success in the marketplace. And basically, you've got to know your trade. Now, that sounds pretty flippant, but I don't see a lot of people out there who do, and I don't see a lot of people a lot of managers that do. It's very sad. I think you need to know the literature, you need to know the science, and I don't know many people who are educated to the level that they can quote you the work behind their decision making. You need analytical skills, and you need to be discriminatory about what constitutes evidence, and that's really key. You really need to understand a little bit about experimental design. We don't need to be statisticians, but we do need to be able to spot errors in experimental design, particularly when they're due to self-interest, as they usually are. And at a minimum, we need to come to terms with the concepts such as control groups, quantifying variation, significance and power. I'll be very surprised if there's a person in this room who could outline the importance of the difference between the significance of a test and the power of a test. And as a farmer, you should be able to do that. It's a major issue. You need to have the financial skills to bring the technical, the biological and the business side together, and to think probabilistically. These are major skills, and then there's implementation. One of my partners, I was at a thing once and he was asked what's the difference between an average manager, we was talking about a sheep farm, an average manager and a good manager, and the difference is 2 weeks. Right? On a cotton farm, it's about half a day. It's that simple. So timeliness is crucial, and things have to be done cost effectively. None of these things are trivial points. Unless you get that stuff right, you might as well give up now. They're the basic skills that will enable you to compete effectively. And they will provide, by having those skills, for one particular industry, that will be a plank in you getting enabled to effectively manage other enterprises and larger businesses. So the management of managers, which if you've got any ambition at all, that's probably where you want to go. Although I must say sometimes I wonder, the good ones are good. So the point is though that people who go to the trouble to get these skills, because it's hard work, require appropriate compensation. Given current industry structure, that's hard to achieve. We need bigger farms and farm businesses if inheritance is not going to be the main source of entry into the industry, right? Now, I was born with a silver plate, spoon in my mouth, and that's why I'm in the industry. That's not good enough. Generally, the dumb ones in my generation, we all went off to our Ponzi schools. The dumb ones went home, the smart ones went off and became stockbrokers. Well, we've been doing that for so many generations. Now we're reaping the rewards. Now, if you agree that we need farm managers that have higher skill levels, and I don't see how you can disagree with that, it follows that we need bigger farms, we need more corporate farms. How can an average farm, and the average is far less than 5,000 DSE if you look up the figures, I'm just talking livestock because that's what I know. How can it pay a manager, a skilled manager, a decent salary, which will be in that sort of 100, 150 range, I'd have thought. I couldn't sleep if I was paying them less than 100. And is it 10,000 DSE? Well, that's not big enough. 20? No, you can't pay someone 100 on that. 30? Ooh. Yeah, if he's really good, you know. We've got a major issue. We can't pay her because our farms are too small. And so we get the dumbasses managing the farms who are prepared to live on 60 a year. Well, that's really good, isn't it? So, that's inside the gate. Now, what can the government do to ensure a viable industry? Well, I think they can set things up so we can have sound trading at both an undergrad and a graduate level. Our ag faculties have become very poorly funded and their subject quality regularly suffers because of this. The good lecturers that I meet are often overworked and they're forced to focus so much on raising money to keep their job that their teaching and research is compromised. Now, I get about the place a bit and I talk to a lot of young people. My view is that if a university can't, if it's graduates, you know, for first degree, can't be got to a point where they understand what the drivers of farm production and profitability are, that faculty has failed. And my view is that there is not a faculty in this country that can do that. We have had such a brain drain out of agriculture. We've had very few good people come in for the last 30 or 40 years. We have lost a generation of brains. At a postgraduate level, there is virtually no postgraduate training in farm management systems or farming systems occurring in this country. Given that the undergrad training seems pretty hopeless, we need to consider whether we need to invest in further education for the best and brightest graduates. And I think these are urgent considerations, and I think there's a role here for government. Research funding. Clearly we need more research and we need more choice. Now, by businesses, I'm not sure how much research levies we pay in a year, but about somewhere between 1 and 2 million, I'd say, into a black hole of industry levies. Why can't we have some choice so we can fund our own issues? This can't change without government intervention. Farm consolidation, well, I've touched on most of that, but artificial schemes aimed at keeping subscale and incompetent farmers in operation need to be discontinued. We need to get rid of drought subsidies, extraordinary circumstances, interest subsidies, transport subsidies, free extension. It should all go. We've got to allow people to drop out the bottom. The next big lift in farm productivity could and likely will come from getting rid of the less viable and getting the average up. The less competent farmers have to go, and the marketplace is the place for that to be tested. Most farms are too small. I hear people talk about part-time being the answer. That's just a load of bullshit. How can you be a competent, serious businessman part-time in a business where timing is everything, or almost everything? Top producers are so far ahead of average or worst producers that I can't see how the laggards can be dragged up, so we need to let them go. Most extensions are a waste of money as it's aimed at the laggards and the people that are giving it a second rate anyway. Research would be a better investment. Farming should be a business, not a sheltered workshop. We need bigger farms and farm businesses, bigger farms and farm businesses if inheritance is not to be the main source of entry. There's 135,000 businesses out there. There's only 6% that turn over more than $1 million. $1 million is too small. Capital flow into the industry. Farms are run down, particularly in the grazing industries. I see some terrible things. I see a lot of farms. I've got what I call my dry gullies file, which are the ones I've looked at and haven't bought, and there'd be a fair proportion of Eastern Australia in that filing cabinet. And I see some terribly run down places. Attractive returns are available for fixing them up, but if they've run themselves down to 50-60% equity and they need another 20, 30, 40 spent on them to get them going, the risks are high. Better off to let them go. And then the last thing is that in that, of course, is by limiting capital flows, by naive, paranoid or racist politicians can only do us damage. So we need to allow foreign capital into the country because debt will not fix the problem. So my conclusions, the issues are underinvestment in quality education has gone on for so long now that we don't have the pool of teachers that we require. It's a disaster. The lack of appreciation of the nature of our industry, i.e. that we're commodity producers, leads to an unrealistic expectation from marketing and leads to underinvestment in research. Too many resources are going on second-rate extension of work done 50 to 70 years ago and carried out by bloated and incompetent bodies such as the PP boards and other industry groups. And small farms are being kept in business by government assistance. Recapitalisations is essential. The paranoia benefits no one. So there's a bleak view of the world. Having said all that, I've made a shitload out of it, and I intend to keep doing that. Thank you.
Look forward to his optimistic version. And that's a unique view and worth listening to. But now we're going to have Tristan and Sarah. You're going to be together.